Well, hello, everybody, and welcome again to our podcast. And I am so honoured to have the fabulous Vicky Laffey, multi-award winning florist from the UK. Getting embarrassed now, Vicky. But yeah, like we're actually honoured to have her here, and we're going to pick her brains and get as much tips and advice off her for being a florist, and particularly a wedding florist. We're really going to focus on wedding flowers. Vicky, you are so welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and you'll make me blush with all of those kind words.
Well, you are a multi-award winner. Tell us about that. So tell us a little bit about floristry and how you got into it and how that all came about, and now becoming an award-winning florist.
Yeah, well, gosh, where do I start? I mean, I've been doing this 13 years now. January just gone, it's 13 years. So it seems to have gone by in an absolute flash. But at the same time, I can't imagine ever have done anything else, you know. But yeah, it just came about as a real desperate need to do something creative. Like, I'm a creative person. How did I end up in a job in the IT department of a bank? I don't know. You know, the wage was good, but, you know, apart from that. And then, yeah, credit crunch, financial crash, redundancy. Here I am. Yeah, well, I'd started training about 6 months or so before I left the company, but then, you know, everything just sort of fell into place timing wise with redundancies and things. So it actually worked in my favor a lot, really. But yeah, at first I did both sort of retail and weddings, and back in 2017 now I did, I sort of, you know, made the transition to just wedding flowers only. But last year, well, 2024, they kind of do the things in November the year before. I won the Wedding Florist of the Year for Yorkshire and North East, which I was really pleased about. And I would definitely recommend anyone to do that as well. It's the Wedding Industry Awards, the TWIA Awards that I entered, and I love those because they're not just a popularity contest. It's like actually voted for by your real clients and
by your clients, your customers.
Yeah, so it meant a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, going back to, like, you went from a corporate type job into being a florist and running your own business. Thinking back then, and I'm sure you did make lots of mistakes because we still make mistakes every day of our lives. But what, like, for somebody else in that position now, what type of advice would you have loved to have known yourself? Like, somebody to tell you, Vicky, before you do this, make sure you do. What sort of advice would you give?
Well, I mean, first of all, I wish all this online mentor and stuff was available when I first started out 13 years ago. It wasn't really a thing then, was it?
No.
You know, most people didn't even have Facebook pages and stuff, but never mind all this online mentoring. But thankfully for you guys, it is. So, you know, you get to skip a few steps. I've actually got a really, really helpful free guide for this, and I think you're going to put the link for that in the comments, in the description, rather. Basically, I share 5 tips for anyone becoming a wedding florist or wanting to become one. But one of those sort of golden nuggets, if you like, is all surrounding the topic of like photos and content creation and stuff. Because honestly, one of the biggest things I hear from like my clients and my followers and stuff is, you know, this thing of, oh, but I can't do a website yet because I haven't done any weddings yet, and I don't really post on socials because I haven't done any weddings, so therefore I haven't got any content, and, you know, and they feel like it's holding them back, and you know, they can't really get started. And of course, you need a website and you need socials to be able to get found online, and, you know, that's all part of the business. You know, whether you're a technical person or not, you need those things, but they feel like that's holding them back. And but yet these same people are telling me that they do flower orders for people every week. And, you know, when I was first starting out, you know, Facebook pages were only just becoming a thing. And I basically just lived, ate and breathed floristry. Even once I sort of finished my course, which I had to finish early, sadly, but I went on to become bench trained, and I would take home on a Saturday, for example, after my bench training, some flowers that weren't going to last till Monday. The owner was like, yeah, I don't pay you, so have some flowers. And I would basically take those home, try a hand-tied bouquet, do it like 3, 4, 5 times till I got it right, and then took it apart. I did it again and again and again. And then I scratch that, you know, cut it up, made it into a small posy arrangement, and all of these things. So you know, I got multiple photos and multiple bits of practice, and I just lived, eat and breathed it. Yeah. So there's nothing to stop these people. You know, if you're anyone watching this or listening to this or in this position where they feel that way, like, you know, you haven't got content. What I would say is content is about so much more than just final pictures of finished.
Absolutely. And you know, like, I know we would often say to our students is content is the questions that anybody asks you. Yes. How do I stop that rose from dying? How do I make that rose last longer? How do I was looking actually yesterday, I was saying to Jeanette, we were driving along the road and we were looking at the flowers, and I'm like, people say there's no content. I says, look at the hedgerows. There's 100%. Content there.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Like, it doesn't have to be that luxury wedding or that luxury design. There's content all around us.
And you know, you've probably got, you know, if you do sort of weekly flower orders for people, you're probably not using all of your flowers either. You've probably got some spares. So what's to stop you from making like a bride's bouquet, or you know, even just, you know, some flower heads that have snapped off? Take a flat lay photograph, you know, from above, and position the flowers all nicely on a decorative plate or something, or even just, you know, you're taking the dog for a walk on a Sunday because it's your day off, and you know, you can tell people what you're up to then. Or
and I do believe that, like, your dog is content, because everybody loves
everybody loves an animal. Yeah.
They really do. So tell me then, we say when you cut to, again, to somebody starting out, and not even starting out, because this is probably a question a lot of your clients, and I know our students would ask, is when it comes to consultations, what's your top tip for dealing with a wedding couple? Just give me 2 or 3 of what would be your golden nuggets when a florist meets a couple for the first time.
Yeah,
or this inquiry for the first time, like an email.
Well, that's it. It's all part of it. I think. I would say, I mean, you're not going to book every single client. So I know you're at the beginning of your career and you're absolutely desperate to book this client, and you want people on your books and get that diary filled up. And I think you take things very personally, don't you? You know, people don't book you and you're like, oh no, you know, it's the worst thing in the world. But you're never ever going to book every single client, and that's okay. You know, obviously we'll try to book them, but it's okay if that person doesn't. Like, think of it just in a logical sort of way. You know, think of it sort of like, okay, well, why could that have been? Like, maybe is it something I didn't communicate to them, or maybe were they asking for something that I wasn't given, or maybe they just weren't my sort of client. You know, just that's fine if they don't book. Just have a little think about, you know, in a logical sort of way about why that might be. I would say don't over prep, or don't do too much work before actual booking stages as well. I think a lot of florists, kind of old and new, excuse me, fall into this thing of, you know, they're creating recipes from scratch every time. You know, that it takes them 2 weeks to do a quote. You see people asking on Facebook groups like, a bride wants this sort of purpley coloured rose or whatever it is. Can anybody suggest this? It's like, come on, the person hasn't booked yet. Like, you know, have your recipes ready so that you can quickly quote people. And you know, if that recipe needs tweaking further down the line, that's fine. You take something out, put something else in, you know, whatever, that's fine. I think you generally need to know like a rough recipe, so you know what to sort of quote the client. So don't over prep, because again, it goes back to that thing of that person might not book, and you might have put a lot of work,
a lot of time, absolutely,
time and effort, and exactly. So yeah, I generally personally tend to do a little bit of prep beforehand, because I mean, brings me to my next point really is consider using some sort of software. So I use something called 17 Hats. Other systems are available, but I love that, and we'll give you guys the link, my referral link, because they get some a little bit of money off if they do it that way. Yeah, have a look in the description for that. But it makes that whole process from inquiry to booking like slick, simple, and I'm a big believer in working smarter rather than harder. Like, why would you work harder than you need to? It makes no sense to me. So everything, your viewers, your listeners might have been in this position of, they get an inquiry through maybe a Facebook DM or an Instagram DM or something like that. And then there's this all backwards and forwards, and they're sending questions and pictures via WhatsApp or, you know
where any of them are. They're all over the place.
That's it. Everything's all over the place. And then, everybody's getting a different experience as well. So leading them to your website inquiry form, which is from 17 Hats in my case, just makes the whole process simple, because, somebody inquires either directly through your form or maybe an Instagram DM, and you lead them to your form. But anyway, either way, everybody has to go through the website to fill in that form.
That's really good advice, because, and I think like that starting out, it is coming through email, WhatsApp, text message, messenger, and there's no central core. And it just makes it so confusing, not so much for the couple, but for the florist who's dealing with maybe 2 or 3 couples. And all these
the couple are happy, but comes time to the consultation or something, putting together the quote, and you're like, oh, hang on, where the heck were those inspiration images again? Like, where did so having some central point like that really helps, because I don't know if your listeners have ever been in this position though, but maybe you're in an evening, you're trying to get the kids sorted for bed or whatever, and you notice an email come through on your phone, and you're like, oh my God, I don't have time to deal with that right now. I'll do it in the morning, and then it's on your mind all night, and you think, God, I wish I'd just replied to it. Whereas with something like 17 Hats, you got all your email templates set up so that it's just very quickly and then click, done, it's sent. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time, but it means that all your clients are kind of having this same point of entry, the same experience with you. They're going through your online filter, if you like, so they're not just randomly DMing you and hope because they've DM'd 10 other florists and they're hoping to just get a good price or whatever. They're going through your online filter, they're seeing your website, they're like, actually, this florist really is for me, or oh no, they look a bit too fancy for me, so they're going through that filter and then filling in your form. So but having a system like 17 Hats makes it like really slick and easy for you, but also that everything is either going to be in there or on an email they sent you, basically. So when it comes time for you creating things like a quote or whatever, where the inspiration pictures are, where all their information is. So that I would definitely consider using that for sure.
And just talking of prices, Vicky, then I suppose again, it's not just florists starting out in the business. I've seen this with experienced florists, is a minimum spend. How do they decide what is going to be minimum budget? Are they going to, like, I'm a firm believer that if you say to somebody your minimum budget is €500, they'll nearly stick to that €500. Where if you're looking for bigger weddings, you need to have a bigger minimum, and you need to show that you can do bigger minimums. So how do people get, if they have already been doing budget type weddings, how do they twist that to be able to get the luxury wedding?
Well, I guess that's kind of 2 different questions, really. So with regards to the minimum spend, this is something I've kind of like, varied with over the years as well. I never had one at all for a good few years, and then I implemented one when I think it was when I became a wedding flower specialist. I scrapped the retail side of things, and I implemented an £800 minimum. And that was kind of okay at first, but then things change, people change, business changes, society changes, and sometimes it just it stopped kind of working. Really, I was missing out on some actually quite nice weddings, because I find that people, the average Joe doesn't have a clue what flowers cost. So they see a figure like £800 minimum on your website, and they go, oh my goodness, that's more money than they've ever spent on flowers in their lives. And that's immediately a shock to them. It puts them off, and they don't even inquire with you. So you don't even get to sell you to them. People buy from people. It's that old thing, isn't it? So but you're not even getting to that stage, because people are going, oh my God, £800 on flowers. Oh my goodness. So I, for a few years now, haven't had a minimum at all. what I do is though, and this is where again the system comes in handy, 17 Hats. Not here to just tell you that system. There are other systems available, I promise you, but it's just the one I know and love. So, you know, this inquiry form, you know, people fill it in. I get that through on email, and I can often immediately see if the budget is really unrealistic or not. So, you know, I have on my inquiry form little sort of like budget brackets. So I think it's like 0 to 800, 800 to 1500, you know, so on. Sometimes people just take the middle one because they don't know any better. But it also says like what they're asking for. So like, you know, a bridal bouquet, 10 centerpieces, you know, that sort of thing. So if they've said, right, okay, Vicky, we want a bridal bouquet, I've got 6 bridesmaids, I want like 10 big flower bowl centerpieces, and I want a floral arch and all of this, and they've said their budget is £1,000, you know, I can immediately say, like, without doing any calculations whatsoever, that is unrealistic. So all I do is just simply reply to them at that point and say, I'm free. I'd love to chat about your wedding. You know, here's the link to my calendar to arrange a meeting, which is another thing that system does. And then, you know, but I will put a note on there saying, by the way, just as a note, you know, for looking at what you've asked for on the inquiry form, I expect that to cost at least sort of £3,500–4,000, you know, upwards. But I'm happy to chat and see what options are available for you, you know. And sometimes you don't hear back from it at that point, and that's fine.
That's fine, absolutely, yeah.
I haven't wasted my time or their time. You know, it's just an email, not a problem.
Yeah,
I mean, you haven't spent like an hour having a consultation with them and then doing quotes and all of this.
And then realising then that at that stage that, you know, you can supply them with what they're looking for the budget that they have. And that's actually really good advice, like even as regards discussing budgets. And I always compare it to, like we said, buying a coffin. Thank God I've never had to buy a coffin for anyone close to me. And I wouldn't know how much a coffin would cost.
A surprising amount.
€6,000. I wouldn't have a breeze because thankfully I'd never have to. And most people getting married, and most of them, it's their first time. Now, thankfully, there's people on their second and third weddings now. But for most people, it's their first time. And they just don't have a clue on the cost. And actually, we have a really good blog on our website about, and I'll actually put the link of it in this one here as well, about the average cost of a wedding. And they normally say the 10 to 15% of the overall wedding cost is what should be spent on flowers. And I think that's a really good guideline for people, because you see them go and spend €1,000 on a pair of Jimmy shoes that they probably won't see because they're covered with the dress. They probably will only wear for a few hours because they'd be crippled, you know, and yet the flowers are in every photograph that is taken on the day and gives the biggest impression, you know. So that's really good advice. I'm actually really interested about that 17 Hats system. It sounds a really good system.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's all sorts of systems out there. I've used that for years, and it's served me very well.
So I know in the last few years, again, we have connected since COVID through online and all of that, which has been absolutely amazing. And you have got a mentoring group as well, but you have ventured off into mentoring quite a lot for the wedding industry, for wedding florists. Tell us a little bit about how that works. Is it for new florists or is it for established florists? Who does it suit?
Yeah, I mean, anyone wanting to sort of get into wedding floristry or upscale the wedding side of their business, really. I tend to get a lot of people who've kind of been through the same thing as me, you know, in terms of transitioning from a corporate career to their ideal wedding floristry business. And I think a lot of people who come to me are weddings is the thing they really want to do, you know, that they hate doing this weekly order type thing, or, you know, ad hoc orders for friends and relatives and things like that, but they kind of feel like they've got to do it to get their name out there. But what they really want to do is the weddings. And so that tends to be the bulk of people who come to me. But I do also get experienced florists as well who are either, you know, they're stuck in their wedding business, or they're sick of, like, you know, couples like giving them next to no budget, or, you know, they feel like they're working. You know,
I was actually listening to another podcast, and like I was saying about the amount of florists that are not making money from their weddings because they're not charging and costing properly. You know?
Absolutely, it's all part of it, and I get that at the beginning. You know, you're so desperate to get this booking, and you're like, yeah, okay, and even yourself. You know, I remember feeling this way myself when I first started out. You know, because you're not used to flower prices yet. You're not in the full mindset of a florist. You're used to maybe like buying a 20 quid bunch from Tesco or something like that. You sort of, that's how you perceive the value of things. So you think, oh yeah, I'll charge around about this. That looks about right, you know. But that's not the way to kind of make money properly from your business, whether it's retail or weddings. You know, you can charge appropriately, and actually it's okay to charge that. You know, even if I remember getting my first 50 quid order from when I was kind of just starting out. I was still working at my job whilst training, and I was like, £50 on flowers. Oh my God, it's the biggest order in the world ever. Yeah. But my goodness, now I probably wouldn't get out of bed for it, you know.
This is
so it. Yeah. But yeah, it's pricing is something to, really try and get right as soon as you can.
Yeah, and so sure. If somebody is looking to, we say, book you for mentorship, is it that they just book in for an hour? Is it a day? Is it online? Is it in person? Tell me more. How do they?
Sure. I mean, there's various options. It depends on what the person needs and what their budget is. You know, I offer a free initial call if people want to go through that. But, you know, they can book me just for an hour, maybe like for once, or just, you know, every now and then as they feel they need it. Or I do a really good like monthly mentoring kind of program as well, called ATM, or Access to Me, where people get unlimited access to me. So we have a meeting like on Zoom every month.
Wow,
you know,
amazing.
A good mentoring call to go through, you know, it keeps them kind of accountable, keeps them right, you know, headed in the right direction, and keeps them motivated, you know. But also they get,
because you're also, I'm sorry to interrupt you now, but I know you're also a digital marketer, so you have that.
Well, that's it. So you got my digital marketing qualification as well.
Advantage. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm all about you know, really helping people push their online presence as well. And you know, when people are first starting out, they think, oh, our Facebook page will do, you know, and yes, you need that Facebook page, but it's not the be all and end all. You know, you need to get found online. You know, I got found and chosen for a really big gig last year.
Can we talk about it yet? Can you tell us about it yet?
A couple of months yet, at least, sadly, but I can't wait to share that. I'm absolutely bursting to share it. But that was because of my online presence, and you absolutely need that. And it's not like this scary dark art that everybody thinks it is. It's so that's something I can help people with through mentoring as well, and even just wrap their heads around it. You know, what content to post, building their website and what it needs to entail. And because I think websites is another thing. A lot of people like go to, you know, some like website builder guy who is very good at technically building websites, but has no idea about a wedding florist SEO, or you know, they don't spend any time talking to the person that, like, what do you want to achieve in your business? You know, is there a particular area what you want to work in? Like, what type of flowers?
So this is all done through the Access to Me program. So this
it's very tailored to each person. Yeah. Okay. So the people, as well as getting a meeting every month, they get unlimited access to me via WhatsApp as well. So like literally any of those little like niggles or hang-ups or things they want to check or whatever, I'm there to hold their hand and I answer them. They can literally message me as many times.
And how often during the year do you open up that?
It's on a rolling basis, So I've got 2 spots to fill as of recording this right now. I'm not sure when you're hearing this, but 2 spots. And as soon as those are filled, it goes to a waiting list situation.
Okay. So if anybody is interested, again, we'll have your details in the comments. They can
absolutely
email you and find out when is to join the waiting list, or if there is any places on that. That's amazing. That's an amazing service.
Well, I know one of the good things about it is it is on a monthly rolling basis as well, for the most part. But if somebody commits for a minimum of 6 months, they get to do my what I call my booking to big day experience as well, which is where they come to me in my own studio, and they get to spend pretty much 4 days with me one-to-one working on a real life wedding as well.
Wow.
Because of, you know, training and colleges and, you know, your own courses and stuff are fantastic for, you know, you learn how to make a bridal bouquet and maybe an arch and all of this sort of stuff, which is brilliant.
On site.
Well, that's it. Like, people don't know how to put all the pieces together, right? How do you do an actual wedding? Like, oh my God, I've got my first wedding next month. What do I do? So
there's nothing like real life experience. And like, again,
absolutely.
On our programs, we're always encouraging people to go and get work experience. You've paid to do a course, go and do and work for nothing and get this experience with the Wedding Florist. And having the access, the WhatsApp access to you, that is what makes our programs so successful, is the WhatsApp access. That it's basically, as you say, anytime during the day, more or less, you can get access to either you or with us, to Jeanette or the tutors or whatever the case may be. And I really think, because I think people get the feeling of online is that if they book something and it's online, be it mentoring or the Access to Me program or anything, that they're sort of just left to their own devices. And trying to get that across, the support. And I know, because I know past students of ours who have joined your program, so I know from experience and hearing the feedback back how accessible you are to them and how much support you give them when they're on those programs.
Oh, that's good to know.
I love to hear that, because you know us here at Case Flower School, we don't take money for anything off anybody, like to advertise something, unless we want to be able to speak. What am I trying to say? We want to be able to speak freely, and if we didn't think your program or what you did was good, I wouldn't have you on here, and that's been perfectly honest with you. We just, I just don't believe in advertising something for the sake of advertising something.
Oh, 100%. You've got to do things with integrity, haven't you?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I do think, like, within our industry, we always need support, everybody. And I'm sure even for yourself, there's good times that you're like, oh, Jesus, how will I do that? Or how can I do that? And we all need to help and support each other. And you do have a Facebook group as well, don't you?
Yeah. If anybody's interested, pop over and join me on the Worldwide Wedding Florist community. I'm sure you'll put the link for that in the description as well. But yeah, there's we'll basically cover any sort of wedding florist related activity, really, from things we've been discussing today, like how do you get into wedding floristry, or how do you run consultations, or even things like, common worries and things like that. You're welcome to sort of post about them on the group as well. It's a very safe and supportive space as well. There's zero negativity policy on there, So I've actually disallowed a few posts on there because they're just they're kind of like
do you know what? There's enough toxicity around in the world, and we don't need it in our social places. And now our social places, instead of going to events, it is our Facebook groups, specifically for wedding florists or florists in general, or whatever the case may be, and being admined really well, which I know again that your group is. It is a very supportive group, because I only saw recently somebody posted up about transporting wedding bouquets, and somebody else, and it wasn't you, replied back and said, oh, this is what we did, and somebody else, this is what, and the knowledge within that thread was just phenomenal, and it's great to see that everybody is willing to share their knowledge.
That's what it's all about.
I could sit and talk to you for hours and hours and hours, because I know you have so much that you can give. And if you're interested in learning more about your own industry, be it in the wedding flower industry, specifically the wedding flower industry, but I'm sure if you're retail flowers, Vicky can help you out too as well.
Absolutely. I ran a retail shop for years, so don't worry if you do that too.
Yeah, so any sort of support, like if you're only starting out or you're already in the business and you're looking for just that little bit of support extra and things aren't going right for you, or you've been asked to do some massive big event that's going to be televised all over the world that we're not allowed to talk about, but you get approached to do something like that, contact Vicky, because she'll know how to help you out. Vicky, again, thank you so much for coming, taking the time to be on our podcast, and all the links will be in the description. So scroll down and have a look, and do contact Vicky and go over and join our group, and we will talk to you again on our next podcast.
I look forward to seeing you there.
Thanks a million. Bye.